playing some more Great Ace Attorney Chronicles. Return of the Great Departed Soul. I don't suppose that... I didn't actually pay attention to the name of this case, but I don't suppose that means that Susato will be back in this one. I mean, I would hope so. Susato's great. Welcome to the stream, Rafkin. 23rd October, 8:52 a.m. Old Bailey, Defendant's Antechamber. Can't believe it's been 6 months since I was last allowed to work in court. And now here I am, back at the Old Bailey. Mr. Naruhodo. Good morning, Professor Hairbrain. I don't understand. It doesn't make any sense. The atmospheric pressure in here is off the charts. I've never felt anything like it. It's crushing me. I feel it every time I'm here. That gravity. Well, this is Britain's highest court. But are you telling me it's fitted with some kind of device that can actually control air pressure? Oh, you are just stressed. I think it's probably all in the mind. Ah, yes, well, you won't let me down, will you, Mr. Naruhodo? I'm counting on you in today's trial to save my life. To save the secret of my super high voltage instantaneous kinesis machine from being made public. Yes, I had planned to abbreviate that to Schvick. Yes, I understand. I know what I have to do. I have to establish that the explosion 2 days ago was nothing more than an unfortunate accident. Well, I'm sure there's nothing to worry about, really. Justice will prevail. My commiserations, Mr. Naruhodo. You appear to have been lumbered with a most tiresome case here. Mr. Sholmes, I didn't expect to see you here. That was very mean, Runo, leaving me alone at home with Hurley. It took me at least an hour to wake him. Hang on a sec, I just remembered something. I just want to make sure that I'm wearing my preferred in-court outfit. Okay. Are you Herlock Sholmes? Indeed, sir. Indeed, sir, I am Herlock Sholmes. Oh, I've heard all about your exploits, even whilst living in Germany. Ah, yes, Rand's magazine is on sale in Germany, too. This month's installment was sublime. Your deduction in the Adventure of Silver Blaze was wonderful. Ah, yes, a memorable case indeed. I have no recollection of it. No, that was the Speckled Band. Well, thank you for coming. I do appreciate your support. I'm sorry to disappoint you, my dear fellow, but I'm afraid I can't stay. Oh. I have urgent business at Madame Tuspel's. You mean your waxwork job? No, the waxwork abduction, of course. Madame has engaged my services. Ah, so you're trying to get to the bottom of that ransom note, are you? The week's wages depend on it, as does the safe return of the waxwork, naturally. As such, I intend to give it my undivided attention. Oh, well, never mind then, I understand. Of course, with my skills of observation and reasoning, resolving the matter will be as easy as proverbial pie. I shall return forthwith. For until I solve the case, I shall have no money to afford a pie of any description. Proverbial or otherwise? Wow. Imagine not even being able to afford a proverbial pie. Oh, then you absolutely must give it your full attention, Hurley. Quite, Iris, quite. But life is riddled with irony, you know. Whenever I give something my full attention, I have a quite insatiable desire for pie. One of the universe's intractable mysteries, you might say. No, that one seems pretty reasonable. I feel like that's a pretty normal thing, like, not necessarily pie, but fixating on something else while you're fixating on something. Or wanting a particular snack while you're thinking. Oh, yes, quite, definitely, absolutely, I totally understand. Someone a little starstruck. I wish you the best of luck, Professor Hairbrain. Oh, what? Thank you! Before I depart, Mr. Naruhodo, a word in your ear, if you please. What's this about? As you have remarkably little grounding in science, I feel I ought to inform you. As compelling as this super high-voltage instantaneous kinesis hypothesis may be, a practical implementation, such as was attempted by the professor at the Great Exhibition, is quite impossible. But the professor said the demonstration was a success. Yes, it would appear that he fervently believes it was. I've read Professor Bunnybrain's paper about it too, Runo, and I have to say, I'm sure it can't be done. It could barely be done theoretically, let alone practically. So he's completely barking up the wrong tree. But how could an experiment that had no possibility of succeeding in fact succeed? That's contradictory. Okay, well now we know what question we have to answer with this case. And it's that contradiction that will be at the heart of the trial, I've no doubt. What's that supposed to mean? Now, I must hurry along. I wish you the best of luck, my dear fellow. See you later, Hurley. Why is she still wearing that hat? I thought she was wearing it because it was going to be cold out. Like, I thought this outfit was because it was going to be cold out, so she wanted to be bundled up. I don't know why she's still wearing it if we're just going to be in court all day. Well, it looks like you're on your own today, Runo, but chin up, you can do it. Oh, what about you, Iris? Ah, no, I'm afraid I can't help. I have something I need to do. Okay, so she's not going to be in court all day. That's fair. She's going to go ride a hot air balloon, isn't she? It's going to be a big surprise for you when you find out what it is. That sounds ominous. Counsel for the defense and the defendant. Court is about to be in session. Make your way into the courtroom at once. We're on our way. An experiment that the laws of science say can't possibly succeed, and a scientist who's convinced that it did. That's the riddle you have to unlock here, Ryunosuke. That's the key to this case. October, 9:10 a.m., the Old Bailey courtroom. Wait, is this actually a new jury? Like, not all the same people that we've seen every fricking time. In the name of Her Majesty the Queen, I hereby declare this court to be in session. We are sitting today for the public trial of Professor Albert Hairbrain. I now call upon the counsels for the prosecution and defense to declare their willingness to proceed. The prosecution is ready. The defense is ready, my lord. I'm 6 months out of practice, and what's more, I'm without Susato-san today. You can do it. Is it just my imagination, or does the air in here feel even more oppressive than usual? No, it's justified that he's nervous. I mean, it's almost impossible to win a court case in the Ace Attorney universe without, well, on behalf of the defendant, without a teenage girl at your side. It's something that is almost never done. I must say, I recollect the victim of this case all too well. Mr. Odie Asman. Mr. Asman was a well-known financier, though that was merely a front for his diverse criminal activities. It was only a month ago that the man appeared in court prosecuted by you, Lord Van Zieks, but the jury unanimously found him not guilty. As every member of the jury had been bribed by the sound of it, these powerful London criminals are prepared to go to extreme lengths to keep their freedom. But 2 days ago, on 21st October, Mr. Asman met his end. The work of the Reaper, was it? If that is how your lordship would like to describe divine retribution. But the fact remains that Mr. Asman's death was a direct result of the actions of the accused, Professor Harebrain. Very well, then. Now, ladies and gentlemen of the jury, you have been selected at random to represent the will of the people. Are the 6 of you ready to fulfill your societal duty? I'm most gratified to have been selected to carry out this important civic duty, my lord. To have a man's fate in the palm of one's hand? Oh gosh, oh golly. Sends shivers down my spine. Science experiments, magic, conjuring tricks, courtroom trials, all are nothing more than performances. Any spurious scholar that defies the reputation of science deserves hang. We have to listen to what's said on both sides of the fence and settle on one, that's it, isn't it? This is the guy that was at Madame Tuspel's. Wasn't like this in my day. Wasn't like this at all. That's the police killer Ottermole lookalike again. And he's as exhausted as ever, it seems. As I'm sure you're all well aware, the incident we are here to judge today tragically took place at the Great Exhibition shortly after its opening. Though the death toll could have been far worse, with the exception of the victim, no one was killed. Nevertheless, the dream of the science being exhibited rapidly turned into a nightmare for the spectators. A tragic turn of events, and as such, the eyes of all London, no, the whole world, will be on this trial. It is our duty to reach a swift and just conclusion, I feel. So, your opening statement, please, Lord Van Zieks. At the heart of this incident, it is technology never before demonstrated anywhere in the world. One of science's latest developments, I take it. The government is keen to capitalize on the Great Exhibition to improve Britain's technological advantage. The technology being demonstrated by the accused was described as Schwick. Good lord. It's designed to disassemble human subjects using extremely high voltage electricity and beam them instantly to another location where they are subsequently reassembled. Is such a thing even within the realms of possibility? Well, I don't believe it, that's for sure. That's for sure. Well, I don't believe it, that's for sure. Disassembling people with electricity. My goodness, how shocking. The whole idea is absurd. The hypothesis would never stand up to scrutiny. So, I believe you are a fellow of the Royal Society, are you not? An expert in your field? I am, and my word on the matter can be considered final. Instantaneous kinesis is poppycock. So this expert and Mr. Sholmes are in agreement. It's impossible. What is the prosecution's view on the matter? The prosecution would assert that the accused instantaneous kinesis demonstration was a success. Oh. I'm still trying to nail down what voice I want to do for that juror. Like, he's clearly going to talk a lot by the end of this, but I don't know what voice I want to go with for him. Order. The professor's hypothesis is currently under investigation by the British government. If it is deemed to have merit, a substantial research grant would be made available. The accused made use of the invention built on his new hypothesis to take Mr. Asmund's life, in order to be the sole benefactor of the grant. So that's what they're saying is the motive for murder. But this disastrous demonstration was no accident. It was carefully designed from the outset to end the life of the victim. Okay, we've got a case on our hands, folks. Thank you, Lord Van Six. The prosecution's stance is clear. But you will now bring forth witnesses to substantiate your claims. Gladly, my lord. Why don't we get a cape? I feel like Naruhodo could pull off a cape, maybe of like a different style. Maybe with a cap or something. Witnesses, state your names and occupations for the court. Yes, sir. Tobias Gregson, Detective Inspector at Scotland Yard's Homicide Division. I was on duty at the demonstration on the day in question, and in charge of the following investigation. Albert Harebrained, scientist? You were born in England, but have been carrying out research in Germany in recent years, correct? Yes, that's right. After graduating from university here in Britain, I went to work in Germany and made an amazing discovery. Which is what brought me back. I had to demonstrate my incredible hypothesis at the Great Exhibition. What you demonstrated was incredible, all right. An incredible explosion. But the science was a success. The instantaneous kinesis worked. Everyone saw it. They must have done. Yes, there was the terrible accident, but the demonstration of my hypothesis was a success. Well, that much is undeniable, as shown in the photograph, taken by the forensics investigation team. That is terrible framing for a photograph of the victim. You absolutely want to capture more space in the frame. This was taken inside the Crystal Tower, I take it. The centerpiece of the exhibition, no less. That's right, my lord. Seems the victim ran straight into it. I see. Well, submit the photo as evidence. Photograph of the victim has been entered into the court record. Photographic print taken after he had ostensibly been beamed to the Crystal Tower shows an apparent stab wound to the chest. As the court said, the victim of the incident was Mr. Odie Asmund. Admittedly, the fact that he was seemingly stabbed by something, rather than just blowing up, is already interesting. Because if it was just a malfunction of the machine, you really think that he would just have died from the explosion, the shrapnel burns. But he seems to be in pristine condition. Other than the stab wound, other than the chest wound itself. Which implies that somewhere along the line he was impaled on something. Obviously there are some pieces of the window behind him. As wild as it is, nothing seems particularly out of place here. He's strapped to the board that he was attached to for the demonstration. Honestly, he doesn't even seem stressed, as if he didn't even know what was happening. Like, I don't know what this wooden stuff around him is, unless it's supposed to be the cage that he was encased in for the demonstration, but... Huh. As the court said, the victim of the incident was Mr. Diaz. There have been a number of allegations made against the man, but putting them aside for the time being, he was the man who financed the research for the experiment and the demonstration itself. I see. So to summarize the situation, the defendant is accused of taking the life of the man who funded his work. Would that be correct? Exactly. I feel like that's a question that should have been addressed to Van Zieks. But couldn't it be that the explosion was caused by some malfunction in the apparatus used for the demonstration? That's right, that must be it, my splendid machine. My poor splendid machine. You saw it yesterday, didn't you? We can't even examine the wreckage thanks to the Special Dispensation for Scientific Equipment Act. What? The wreckage? The wreckage? Well, that being the case, how can the facts be established? How can it possibly be determined whether this was an accident or a deliberate and malicious act? Extremely simply, my lord. I beg your pardon. Isn't that right, witness? What? Sorry, me? No, your neighbor. Yes, sir. It was murder, plain and simple. Anyone could state that with complete certainty. What? How can he possibly think that? See, this one I'm actually really curious about, because it feels like there's a lot of pressure on the prosecution for once to actually back up their claim in what seems like it would be an open and shut case of this was an accident, the machine exploded, and a man died. Thank you, Inspector. I think we'd better proceed to formal testimony. You'll explain to the court on what grounds you claim this experiment to have been a front for murder. Alright, let's hear it. front for murder. A corpse that went crashing through the crystal tower had a broken neck. I made a minor miscalculation in the angle of the beam projection, that's all. That was my mistake. But the post-mortem examination revealed another injury, a fatal wound. There was a lesion in his chest right where he'd clearly been stabbed by something sharp right in the heart. So the victim was killed before he went anywhere, and this fella's the only one who could have done it. An extraordinary business. In addition to suffering a broken neck, the victim was stabbed in the heart. Information I really would have liked to have heard from someone other than the judge. The coroners say death would have been all but instant from a wound like that. You could say, in fact. Hang on. Since when would death ever be instant from a stab wound to the heart? It's gonna take a second for the issue of the heart not pumping to actually kill you, like, because the brain has to become oxygen starved. You could say, in fact, that the victim was killed twice by the accused. No, and no. That couldn't be further from the truth. I have it, the experiment plan document that was submitted to the security team. The victim stood himself in something called the bird cage, ready to be beamed instantly to the second level of the crystal tower, about 25 yards away. The experiment did not go according to plan, however. As the machine was put into operation, there was a large explosion. The blast caused the beam transmitter to point higher than intended. Accordingly, the kinesis resulted in the birdcage materializing into midair. From there, it subsequently fell, crashing through the glass of the crystal tower's large round window. My word, one assumes the victim's neck was broken upon impact with the tower, then. I'm sorry, I didn't mean for this to happen. The machine was just too powerful. But honestly, really, I swear it was just an accident, a terrible accident. Unfortunately, that excuse can't save you. No, not considering the sharp murder weapon what pierced the victim's heart. Murder weapon? What are you saying? This is the autopsy report submitted by the coroner. The prosecution would like it entered into the court record. Your request is granted, counsel. The autopsy report. His neck was broken from the impact of a violent fall, and he was stabbed in the chest with a sharp object. Okay. I was there in person, you know. I saw the whole ludicrous performance. And the only other person on the stage with Mr. Osmond was that disgraceful excuse for a scientist. And really, by all accounts, it must have been him. Hard to think otherwise, really. Very well. Counsel for the defense, proceed with the cross-examination, please. Oh, yes, my lord. I need to focus here. It's been a while. Alright. I'm gonna drop a save real quick. And we're gonna take a look in the court record now that we've got a couple of... Oh, it's... I thought the thing that he was presenting with the intended plan was included. Okay, hear me out. I suspect that at some point we are going to claim that he was shot by the crossbow by someone up here. The trouble is, the big trouble, at least from what I see, is that if he was just shot by the crossbow, the bolt would have still been in his chest. That's going to be the issue that we come across. At least the main issue. Coroner Courtney Scythe? Is there usually a coroner mentioned? I don't feel like that was normally a thing. Why do I feel like that means the coroner is going to come up as a witness or something at some point in the case? Odie Asman, 47, British, 21st October around 2:20 p.m. Cause of death, hemorrhage of a wound to the chest that pierced the heart, inflicted by a sharp implement. Broken vertebra, most likely resulting from impact after a sudden fall from considerable height. The trouble is, it just seems more and more difficult to believe that he died from this. There's so little blood for a heart stab. He hasn't coughed up any blood. And I couldn't say whether that's something that this game would take into account, but it feels hard to believe that he died from the stab wound if that's him immediately after death. That feels like a post-mortem stab wound to me. Which might wind up being my first argument. That he was stabbed post-mortem and died from his neck breaking. Alright, start pressing. Are you suggesting that's because he fell from a considerable height? Exactly. Which highlights something else about this old rum business. This old rum business. What's that? The fact that the instantaneous kinesis itself was a success. Ah. After the explosion, the cage with the fellow inside suddenly appeared out of nowhere in mid-air. So, though the experiment ended in disaster, the so-called instantaneous kinesis did actually occur. Remind us, Professor, what was the cause of the fatal disaster? Made a minor miscalculation in the angle of the beam projection.
Hold it!
So the angle of projection is critical, is it? And you calculated it yourself, personally? Absolutely, the calculation is far too complicated for anyone but me to carry out. Only, you got it wrong, didn't you? Yes, that's right. That's the point, the calculation is so complicated, even I can make a mistake. People fall for that brazen confidence, I should try it. I took into account the subject's height and weight and the wind direction, the ambient temperature. I considered every possible variable, so I just don't understand how this could have happened. Obviously, then, you had to include the weight of the clothes Mr. Asman was wearing at the time, I suppose. Oh. Crackling comets! Crackling comets, the answer should have been 3. So much for safety first. The 3 must be for safety third. Oh no. So that's the issue in his calculations. We have already cracked one part of the case. But the post-mortem examination revealed another injury, a fatal wound. Another fatal injury, you say? That doesn't make any sense. I didn't think I'd have to spell this out, but here we go. Just because there were 2 fatal wounds doesn't mean I'm saying the victim had 2 lives to lose, does it? Too right. Obviously, at first we thought the bloke had died due to his spine snapping in half as well. You're saying that's not the case? You'll get your answer once I've finished my fish and chips if you don't keep butting in every few seconds. But we all know that's a bottomless pit. Okay, so it's not just like an in-game effect. He actually has a paper of endless fish and chips, similar to a decanter of endless water. The victim plummeted 30 feet into a glass tower. It would be reasonable to assume that as the cause of death. Right, that's what we all thought. But it was a red herring, wasn't it? There was a lesion in his chest where he'd been stabbed by something sharp right in the heart. Do you have the stabbing implement? The defense knew nothing of this crucial information. The prosecution received this report from the forensic investigation team only this morning. That was the first we knew of it as well. I can only apologize for the impossibility of informing the defense. Sarcastic and insincere? Thanks. So what was the nature of this sharp object? Among the accused tools that were in use at the demonstration, one is of a particular interest. This. Oh yes, that would appear to be some kind of screwdriver, wouldn't it, Count? Ah! There he is! My trusty little companion, Andrew. Andrew. Of course. Do you know each other already? He's one of my dear friends, like all my tools. I've named them all, you know. We're one big happy family. That's kinda sad, man. I appreciate that the judge is taking time to say his dots mid-case, though. It's important. Andrew is my flathead screwdriver, of course. His brother Michael is a crosshead. Huh. It would appear that your beloved Andrew has a red stain on his shank. Ah, that isn't... It's blood, beyond all reasonable doubt. No. And that's not all. The long, sharp shape of this Andrew fellow is completely consistent with the victim's wound. What? What? Oh, this is already looking pretty bad. Like, sometimes I'm surprised when the jury jumps to conclusions in cases that clearly have a lot of uncertainty surrounding them. I wouldn't be that surprised if they jumped to conclusions here. Order, order. The court will enter this friend of the defendant as evidence. Professor Harebrain's trusty screwdriver that he's named Andrew. There are traces of blood at the tip, and it matches the shape of the victim's wound. So one of Professor Harebrain's tools is the murder weapon. Great. Alright, let's take a look at it. This is blood. Mr. Asmon's, no doubt. This is the problem with looking at murder weapons. It's a pretty peculiar shape for a thing. Obviously, we're going to look at the other end of it. It's a pretty bizarre shape for a screwdriver. So what's the deal at this end? I've seen this unusually shaped handle before. It's the same screwdriver that was lodged in the grill on the floor of the kinesis machine. Which could be important information, so I should definitely make a note of it. It has a very distinctive handle. Okay. I don't know if there's anything else to find about this thing. So the victim was killed before he went anywhere, and this fella's the only one who could have done it.
Hold it!
What grounds do you have for saying that? Ah, do you really need to ask? There were only 2 people on that public experimentation stage in front of the whole crowd. The victim, Mr. Odiasman, and the accused, Professor Harebrained. And we know for certain that before the experiment, the victim was alive. That's right. That's right. I saw him with my own eyes. Furthermore, following the explosion and kinesis, nobody went anywhere near the body. In other words, only somebody else on stage with the victim could possibly have done it. Alright, let's see what we're doing here. Professor Harebrained, do you have some information that may be relevant here? Professor. Ah, sorry. I was just calculating the optimum coefficient of electrolysis to separate molecules in the human body. And the witness stand is the best place for that? It seemed as though you might have something to say about Inspector Gregson's last remark. Yes, that's right, of course. He just said that nobody else could have done it, didn't he? Yeah, that's right. Who else could have stabbed the victim, mate? I don't know, but there's no way that I could possibly have stabbed Mr. Asman, as you say. Right? Explain, please, Professor. Of course, this cold-hearted policeman may not be aware, I suppose, that humans are warm-blooded mammals with blood running continuously through their veins. Aye, Dad. Then surely you see, if I'd plunged something the size of Andrew into the man's chest, the whole stage would have been a bloodbath, no, a blood swimming pool. Why is he the one that has to bring this up? Why couldn't the coroner have recognized that this was a post-mortem stab? The thousands of Londoners were watching me at the time, and yet not one of them claims to have seen a swimming pool of blood. Well, no, I suppose not. You see, no one, not one. Welcome to the stream, B. True. I didn't see anything like that. Hold on, Professor, that was a great counter-argument. It's nice when Ryu doesn't need to be the one to pose all of the counter-arguments. Order. Pray forgive the discourtesy if I savor a drop from my hallowed chalice to accompany my old friend's adducing. Here's to you, Albert. Okay, I want to look up what adducing is. Oh wow, that sounds terrible, actually. That sentence. Not great. Cite as evidence. Interesting. He's gonna shatter that, isn't he? Oh, you're too kind, Barack. I'm really not a patch on you. Yep. No, you are not. Huh? You've neglected to mention one crucial possibility. I have! A particular situation in which very little bleeding would result from a stab wound. Ah, of course. Inspector, enlighten the court, please. Yes, sir. Where are they going with this? Well, you'll amend your formal testimony now, Inspector Gregson. The weapon the victim was stabbed with must have been left in his body whilst he was beamed through the air. Okay, but we know that wasn't the case. You were there when it was picked up. Like, I have no evidence to back that statement up, but it's definitely going to come up in this press. Because...
Hold it!
Why would you think that, Inspector? With any wound, it's only when you pull the weapon out that profuse bleeding occurs. Whilst it's still lodged in the body, it acts as a stopper of sorts, for want of a better word. I see. You don't need a medical degree to be aware of this fact. It's common knowledge for any investigator. Where's Susato-san when you need her? If you ask me, this bloke masked what he was doing from view with his body before stabbing Asman in the chest. Then he beamed the victim off the stage with his fancy device, the screwdriver still where he planted it. I would never do such a thing, not to my precious tools. I would never use them for such dirty work. Only use tools for their intended purpose. That's common knowledge for any scientist. The fact remains, the lack of blood at the scene can easily be explained, as the prosecution has demonstrated. Okay, never mind. I do have information about where it was found. So that's all the testimony I have to work with. I had no idea the victim had been stabbed. That changes everything. Did Van Zieks keep that to himself up until now on purpose to gain advantage? Oh well. Suppose all I can do is press these witnesses for as much new information as possible. Alright. Present.
Objection!
You say that while the weapon remains in the body, there's very little bleeding. Is that unequivocal? Look, there was no blood on the experimentation stage, even though that's where the fellow was stabbed. The only explanation for that is if the screwdriver was still in his body, stopping any heavy bleeding. It's common medical knowledge, my learned friend, even on your side of the world. Yes, but about this screwdriver. The thing is, we actually saw it at the scene ourselves, on the experimentation stage. But it was on the floor by the wreckage of the machine, poking through a metal grill. I went to pick it up, but the detective here stopped me. Isn't that right, Inspector Gregson? Ah, well, now you mention it, yes. Inspector, are we to understand that you permitted the defense counsel to investigate? That you contravened the Special Dispensation for Scientific Equipment Act? No, not at all. I wouldn't do that. I just let him look, nothing more. It was very clear he wasn't to touch a thing. Yes, that's true. Screwdriver was in plain sight on the stage. But it shouldn't have been, should it? What are you getting at? If this tool had still been in the victim's body when the victim was beamed away by the machine, then it shouldn't have still been on the stage. Ah. That's right, it should have been beamed across the crystal tower along with Mr. Asman, and been found still lodged in the victim's chest.
Order. How do you explain this, Inspector?
I don't. Looks as though everything that the victim had on his person moved with him when he was beamed. If the screwdriver was still in his chest when the instantaneous kinesis occurred, obviously that should have been beamed to the destination as well. This is a strange situation. Even though people are saying that this instantaneous kinesis is a scientific impossibility, we're still basing arguments on the assumption that it did actually take place. Alright, time to tighten the screws here. My lord, if the prosecution is unable to explain this inconsistency in its argument, we can only conclude that the testimony given in support cannot be relied upon. Lord Van Zieks is stumped.
Hold it!
You have something to say, witness?
Yes, I knew it. It bears out. The equation holds up. Mr. Naruhodo, don't worry. About what? Without delving into the details, there is no inconsistency. What? Even if Andrew had been lodged in Mr. Hasman's chest, my trustworthy tool wouldn't have moved. Andrew remaining on the stage is consistent with my calculations. Really, dude? No, this is important. We need to hear this out. What? As much as I hate to have my arguments dismantled by my own client, it would seem your illusions have been shattered. Clearly, we should hear the accused explanation. Or should I say, this brilliant scientist's explanation? This is such a weird dynamic. I hope Albert is mature enough, though, to recognize that Lord Van Zieks is just doing his job when pressing this hard. And that, in a sense, he's trusting Ryu to defend him properly and find a way to prove his innocence if, in fact, he is innocent. Just when I found an inconsistency in the prosecution's argument. So is the result going to be that, like, it can't transport metal or something? Scientists.
Very well. The defendant will testify again. Provide us with the scientific explanation as to why the inconsistency asserted by the defense fails to hold.
In the name of Apollo, I will, my lord. Why Apollo? Wait. Was science part of the domain of Apollo? I don't think he was. Olympian deity, ancient Greek and Roman religion, and mythology. God of archery, music, dance, truth and prophecy, healing and diseases, sun and light, poetry, and more. I mean, I guess the fact that he was the god of truth and prophecy might come into play here. To be clear, I'm still at the stage of gathering data in my research. My hypothesis states that Kinesis cannot transport metal, though, hence the metal weapon would have stayed put. In other words, the point just raised by Mr. Naruhodo isn't an inconsistency at all. Mr. Asbin was the patron of my research. Without him, my work wouldn't have been possible. Now I have a duty to protect that incredible machine we built together. So, hang on, I just want to check something. Okay, but he's clearly got metal on his glasses. Is that button not metal? But even so, like, that's clearly metal, or are we claiming that his glasses were plastic frames?
So, the thrust of your testimony, Professor, is
That based upon his hypothesis, metal objects cannot be moved by this method of instantaneous kinesis.
In other words,
Since the screwdriver is made of metal, even if it remained lodged in the victim's chest, its subsequent discovery on the stage, despite the victim being found elsewhere, is not an inconsistency. Okay, but the lack of blood at the location elsewhere that he was found is still an inconsistency. Let's acknowledge this real quick.
and therefore,
Professor Albert Harebrine could still have been the killer. My great hypothesis holds, you see. We had to make the cage used to contain the subject from wood for that very reason.
I was not addressing you, witness.
Professor Harebrine. Yes? Whose side are you on here? I don't take sides, Mr. Naruhodo. No. My only interest lies in upholding my hypothesis. I'm a scientist, after all. Is he working for us or against us? It's very hard to tell. Let's see how you cross-examine this testimony, my Nipponese friend. Yes, fire away, Mr. Naruhodo.
Hold it!
And yet your retort to my argument wasn't lacking in confidence in any way. No scientist can find the truth without first finding self-belief. Those were the words of a certain scientist I hold in the very highest esteem. But you realize that disproving my argument puts you in a very precarious position, don't you? No scientist should strive to protect himself more than he strives to protect the truth. More words of the same great scientist, you know? Words that are causing me a lot of trouble. Who is this scientist? I'm afraid I couldn't tell you, Mr. Naruhodo. But as soon as I remember the magnificent genius's name, you'll be the first to know. It might be worth keeping the names of your idols to mind. You're wasting breath, my learned friend. This scatterbrain even forgets my name at times. So Lord Van Ziegs really did have a friend once. I didn't notice how freezing. I'm taking a screenshot of that. I kind of doubt that it'll be used as the thumbnail when I upload the VOD, but still. That's hilarious. The hypothesis states that Kinesis cannot transport metal, though. Hence, the metal weapon would have stayed put.
Hold it!
Our hypothesis states it, so this isn't proven then. No, of course not. It's merely a hypothesis, but a good one, based upon thousands of calculations. Yeah, I love these games. But it is widely known that metals can't be decomposed by electrolysis. Yes, of course, so I am right. My hypothesis is clearly correct. What is it about incriminating himself that makes this man so happy? It's the whole reason that the birdcage is made of wood, you see. You'd think they would have tested this on a non-living subject before testing it on a living one. Sorry, the birdcage? Yes, that's what I call the C obtusa cage in which Mr. Asmon was placed for the kinesis. Okay, I need to look this up. Okay. It's a type of wood. Japanese cypress, essentially. It once existed outside Asia with a range that stretched to Germany during the Miocene. I don't know what the Miocene is, but I'm assuming it's some era, but I don't know when it was. Almost knocked my water bottle off my desk.
Oh, the jail cell in which the victim was detained. It does seem to be made of a timber of sort.
Thank you not to refer to it as an instrument of incarceration, your lordship. In short, any weapon lodged in the victim when he was beamed away by instantaneous kinesis would have been left behind on the stage if it was made of metal, correct? Yes, that's it. Yes. It all fits perfectly within the mathematical model.
Well, the ultimate conclusion, then, is that the defendant alone had the opportunity to inflict this fatal injury on the victim, is it not?
Indeed, sir. Someone beam me out of this nightmare. In other words, the point just raised by Mr. Naruhodo isn't an inconsistency at all.
Hold it!
You seem to be pleased by that. Yes, another example of my hypothesis holding true. But I sense some sarcasm, Mr. Naruhodo. Are you not pleased? No. I knew it. At the end of the day, I'm the one responsible for Mr. Asmon losing his life. The advancement of science is no excuse, I know that. No, you're quite right.
Helicord, did you have a close relationship with Mr. Asmon?
Oh, well, no, not really. I mean, I'd only met him 2 or 3 times. We only ever discussed my hypothesis and the project. And the research grant, of course. How did you come to know Mr. Asmon in the first place? A year ago now, a small provincial science journal published a little paper about my work. That is, in fact, a small journal. Alright.
That's a scientific journal. Good gracious, I should need new spectacles.
I might have had an extraordinary hypothesis and great promise, but at the time I had no money. I had to eat tiny little meals at a tiny little cafe and drink watered down water out of a tiny little... Watered down water, huh? Okay, then. Out of a tiny little glass. But Mr. Asmon read the paper and came to visit me at my tiny little laboratory. And offer you money to help fund your work. Exactly, that's exactly what happened. I handled the theoretical side of things, and Mr. Asman provided me with an engineer for the practical. And the three of us produced that fantastic machine together. Who was the engineer? The machine that you brought to the Great Exhibition to demonstrate. We had to apply to the government for some sort of inspection to be allowed to exhibit, I think. I didn't understand all that side of things. Mr. Asman took care of it. Of all of it. He was a wonderful man, really. I owe him everything. That sounds suspicious.
Hold it!
When you say that you built the machine together, does that mean that you were involved in its construction? So we really don't have... We still don't know who the engineer is. We definitely don't have that in the court record. Yes. Well, not exactly. I'm not good with the practical side of machines myself, so the physical construction was done by an engineer. Little remains of your creation now, though. Following the explosion, repair will no doubt be impossible. Yes, I realize that, but still. If someone were to gather all the broken parts, they could discover the secret of my hypothesis. When Mr. Asman and I toiled over that machine for so long, we put our hearts and souls into it. I have to protect our work. So what's left of the machine must be kept safe. That's only fair. Because what happened was an accident. That's the extent of the testimony, then. Thank goodness. I don't want him doing any more damage. He's already basically proven that he could have been the culprit. But it seems as though all he really cares about is defending his hypothesis. Still, I wonder, what if his hypothesis is just fundamentally flawed? Okay. Start poking holes in this, folks. And I'm pretty sure it has to be this that is relevant, because his glasses contain metal.
Objection!
Okay, I was right. Professor Harebrain, you say that according to your hypothesis, nothing made of metal can be beamed by instantaneous kinesis using the machine you made. Is that right? Yes, that's right. Spot on. Exactly correct. In that case, I'd ask you to have a look at this photograph. Every time I do, it makes me laugh. It was taken at the scene. In particular, I'd like you to pay attention to the victim's face. Okay, so it's not even going to make me highlight it. You can clearly see that Mr. Asman is wearing a pair of spectacles with a metal rim. What? Metal? No, metal can't... That's not... Metal? No! We've already established that the proposed murder weapon, the screwdriver, was found on the stage. However, if your hypothesis correctly predicted that outcome, it should also have predicted that the metal-rimmed spectacles would be found in the same place. Well, the metal rim of the spectacles. I can't imagine that it would care about the glass. Under the same logic. Ah! My hypothesis! My hypothesis! Professor Harebrain, this isn't easy for me to say, but your hypothesis is clearly flawed. Ah! Oh, we lost Inspector Gregson. I didn't even realize that he wasn't on the stand.
Order, order, order. Counsel, what is the implication of this?
If, on the day in question, the alleged instantaneous kinesis never actually took place, then it's entirely possible that the victim was killed somewhere other than on the stage. And in that case, someone other than the defendant could have been the culprit. But my hypothesis is sound. I proved it that day. The experiment was a success. The experiment was proof of all my work.
If I could just say something here in my capacity as a fellow of the Royal Society. Yes, sure, number 4. Go ahead. As a man of science, there's one thing I simply cannot abide. And that is a fraud who pretends to be a fellow man of science.
Oh, wait, great Scott, are you suggesting my science is suspect? This might be the only way to get him to take this case seriously.
It's just been disproved, hasn't it, in front of all of us? In other words, the whole demonstration was a complete nonsense from start to finish. Believe me, my fellow jurors, when I tell you that this man is a heel, a bounder, and a fraud. I say the wreckage of that machine should be stripped down and thoroughly examined.
No, never. That machine's the essence of my entire hypothesis. It is protected by the Special Dispensation for Scientific Equipment Act.
What the devil is that blasted act all about, eh? Who made up such a daft rule?
I don't like the way this seems to be going. It's the best way for me to help the professor. I might do both routes on this because I'm curious. I feel like I would raise an objection.
Objection!
Professor Harebrained has not yet to perfect his invention. That would seem to be the case, yes. But even so, that. Going to such trouble and expense to create a fake machine to display in public, you would have absolutely no reason to do such a thing.
Objection!
You had an obvious reason to do exactly that. For the research grant money. Okay, we're going somewhere. I'm going to reload, because I do want to see what happens if I just wait and see. Maybe I should watch and wait for the time being. Well, I don't know if the time being is even going to show up to the trial, but okay. But what about this special dispensation that's been mentioned? Oh gosh, this is all too much.
If it's determined that the machine itself was the murder weapon, I think you'll find that act won't apply. Of course it's the murder. Of course. Of course it's the murder weapon. Anyone can see that plain as day. So we're all in agreement, are we? The machine should be stripped.
If I don't do something
Objection!
hang on, I want to check something. Because we're gonna load anyway. I'd still rather go with my first decision. But are there any accolades that I should be watching for in this process? That's down the line. Okay, so negative on that. I still have to do this. Just keep going.
Objection!
There we go.
If the government was foolish enough to have deemed this man's ridiculous notion plausible, he and his conspirators would have received a handsome sum indeed.
Conspirators? What would be the value of such a grant? 10 pounds?
You're an order of magnitude out, madam. £500 a year.
Oh, I could live handsome on that much for years. I could live handsome on that much for years.
The society has noticed an increase in bogus public demonstrations in the field of science recently, and plenty of scientists arguing with each other to get the largest slice of the funding cake. People's greed is plenty motive enough for murder, I assure you.
No, I haven't deceived anyone, least of all the government. My hypothesis is sound, the science is sound. Please, you must believe me.
Objection!
No matter how unbelievable this hypothesis may seem to you, ladies and gentlemen, the fact remains that the victim was transported instantly to the Crystal Tower. I assume you have a witness to that effect, which means that the experiment was a success. Ah, Baroque! And therefore, the only person who could possibly have committed this murder is the accused. Ah, Baroque! Where's this heading? I have no idea. My lord, if I may.
Yes, Lord Van Zieks.
The prosecution would like to summon new witnesses to the stand.
New witnesses? What would be the nature of their involvement?
They were spectators of the demonstration at the exhibition, who were occupying special seats. Eyewitnesses?
Very well. The court grants the prosecution's request. I should very much like to hear from eyewitnesses to the incident.
The prosecution's stance is clear. The experiment was no postiche. I'm assuming that means something to the effect of sham. I get a lot of new vocabulary from these games. Feels like they went to a lot of effort to... Oh, that's interesting. Feels like they went a lot of effort to make the dialogue at least somewhat era appropriate. Not perfectly, obviously, but feels like they tried to slip in era appropriate dialogue. Stuff that would be understood by someone would be familiar with. Also, it's a wig or a toupee. It's fake hair, essentially. The accused killed the financier victim there on this public stage before the very eyes of the spectators. Now, my learned friend. Oh, yes? It's time for you to make your own stance clear. There's clearly a flaw in the professor's hypothesis. I can definitely see that. But where does that leave me?
We shall take a short recess now, during which time the prosecution will prepare its new witnesses to take the stand.
As you wish, my lord.
Good. In that case, court is adjourned for 20 minutes.
All right. 23rd October, 10:44 a.m., the Old Bailey Defendant's Antechamber. Mr. Naruhodo? What on earth were you playing at just now? Or rather, what on earth were you playing at all along? My hypothesis, my amazing hypothesis, you've been picking holes in it from the start. Ah, sorry about that. But you promised me. You said you'd prove that the dreaded explosion was an accident, not murder. You said you'd keep my precious invention from falling into anyone else's hands. But all you've done so far is try to undermine me. Yes, I did make you a promise, you're right. I said that I believe in you and fight for your freedom to the very end. But I also told you I was no scientist. I don't understand your hypothesis. The fact is, there's an undeniable flaw in your logic, isn't there? Ah, but if I just run through some equations... Yes, you see, it's because my work is incomplete. Perhaps it is. Nevertheless, the man died as a consequence, didn't he? Oh no! You're right. You're so right. It's all my fault. I have no right to blame you for my failures. I'm a disaster, not just as a scientist, but as a human being. Well, that might be a little over the top. And while we're on the subject, you're a disaster as a human being, too. What about Barack? He's being awful. Claiming his old university friend to be a murderer, you mean? He's a disaster, not just as a prosecutor, but as a human being. I'd actually say that he's doing a great job as a prosecutor right now. Oh, but no, wait, he's the Reaper, isn't he? Perhaps he's not classified as Homo sapiens anymore? Glad that's cleared up. Can I double check something with you? Ah, yes, what? The machine demonstration you prepared, they were based entirely on your hypothesis, I presume. There was no trickery involved? I drew the plans for the machine with my very own hands. Every line was painstakingly drawn with the firm belief that science is the only future. So yes, it's true that my hypothesis hasn't reached maturity yet, but please, Mr. Naruhodo, you must believe in it. Alright, Professor, I understand.
Counsel, defendant. The prosecution's witnesses are ready to take the stand. Court is about to be in session again. Make your way to the courtroom, please.
It all hinges on that demonstration. If the professor's hypothesis is as sound as he claims, it leaves him as the only person who could possibly have killed the victim. But on the other hand, Mr. Sholmes was adamant. A practical implementation, such as was attempted by the professor at the Great Exhibition, is quite impossible. So really, what should I be trying to prove here? (23rd October, 11 a.m., the Old Bailey courtroom.
In the name of Her Majesty the Queen, I hereby reconvene the proceedings of this court. Counsels for the defense and the prosecution, are you ready for the new witnesses to testify?
The prosecution is ready, my lord. As is the defense, my lord.
So, Lord Van Zix, I believe these next witnesses saw the demonstration on the day in question with their own eyes.
Indeed, they did. And as luck would have it, one of them is a police detective. So the testimony we are about to hear can be considered highly reliable. Perfect. A detective of all people. The prosecution's stance remains unchanged. Though it ended in tragedy, the demonstration on the day in question was scientifically sound. And consequently,
The sole person with the opportunity to have committed this act of murder. Is the only other individual to have been present on the stage at the time, the accused.
Thank you, counsel. Oh no, I'm getting my voices mixed up.
Thank you, counsel. The prosecution's position is clear. So bring forth your witnesses now. Bailiff, show the witnesses in. The witnesses whose proximity to the incident on the day in question will clarify the truth unequivocally.
Hi, Gina. You know you're not actually a detective, don't you? One sec. See, I'd say Gina's presence here is actually pretty good for us. Because, frankly, I've never heard one of her testimonies that wasn't full of plot holes and contradictions. It was a nightmare trying to defend her in court, but it should help us when she's a witness.
Witnesses, state your names and occupations for the court to hear.
My name is Balthazar Loon. I am the impresario of all the hot air balloons in the vicinity of the experimento stage. My name is Wilhelm Gottreich Sigismund Ornstein. I have come to the great exhibition all the way from my home in Bohemia. I'm very rich. Inspector Gina Lestrade, Scotland Yard. I'm a great detective, even Sherlock Holmes agrees. I was on security duty at the exhibition, and I got to go up in one of them balloons. It was amazing. Gina, again. But she did mention that she'd seen the disaster from up in a balloon, actually, didn't she? And she clearly loved every minute of it. Oh no. There were 3 balloons flying near the public experimentation stage when the incident occurred. 2 of these witnesses were in one such balloon at the time, and saw the events unfold from the skies above. You make it sound like they were in the clouds. It was only an altitude of circa 60 feet. That's horrifying. Why would people only be 60 feet up when they're traversing in a hot air balloon? That's way too low to be that close to that tower. You're gonna die. Well, you can't see nothing if you fly too high, can you? 60 feet, about 18 meters then.
Thank you for your introductions. Now you'll give your formal testimony for the court. Kindly describe what exactly you exactly what you witnessed, especially those two of you who had a vantage point above the stage.
It was an incident terrible. I'm only grateful that my balloons were not damaged. There's this huge bang from the stage, and then the next second, another bang from the sky beside us. Welcome to the stream, Lastborn. And from amidst the smoke, a cage appeared out of nowhere. A cage, it fell from the sky like a stone and crashed into the crystal tower. Make for the hydrate. I didn't get a good look inside the cage, but no one went near it after it crashed into the tower. How is she actually giving a coherent testimony this time?
A most extraordinary collective account, I must say.
Can I just clarify something? There's a detail in the witness's testimony that I've not heard any mention of until now. Specifically, that there were 2 explosions? More precisely, 2 explosions in 2 separate places, yes. When the demonstration began, the balloon carrying the 2 witnesses was around here. There were other balloons in the air nearby at the time, carrying other passengers as well, to be clear. Then, as power was supplied to the machine for demonstration, the first explosion occurred. The so-called bird cage that contains the victim disappeared from the stage a moment later. The second explosion occurred directly adjacent to the balloon carrying the witnesses. The bird cage appeared at the site of the explosion, subsequently to plummet down into the crystal tower. I was very surprised. A sudden cage appeared before my eyes, with a person inside. The blast was so hot, I didn't want to miss a thing, so I kept my eyes wide. You just lost your balloon, buddy. It's a good thing that guy seems to have an unlimited supply. I still have lots of money.
Precisely who is this curious?
I'm told he is a young noble of Bohemian royalty. Apparently, he disguised himself in order to steal unnoticed into the great exhibition. Yeah, I'm here in London on a sightseeing trip with my elementary school. We will have the benefit of a child's point of view in the testimony. We really need that? When I removed my mask, this is what I look like.
Ah, yes, I see. A delightful face, I'm sure.
Yeah, everybody says so. Great disguise, then. The point is, the testimony of these witnesses further substantiates the facts for the court. Namely, that despite ending in an explosion, instantaneous kinesis was successfully demonstrated. And furthermore, that until the arrival of the police, no one approached the Crystal Tower where the victim fell. Therefore, only the accused, who was with Mr. Asman on the stage, could possibly have committed the murder.
Yes, thank you, counsel. The prosecution's views on the matter are quite clear. So the defense's cross-examination now, please. Yes, my lord.
There's a shockingly small amount of evidence in this trial so far, actually. Which is tricky, because that means I've got less ammunition for this whole process. Why do we have a feeling that this thing is going to become relevant here sooner or later? Like, pretty soon here. Bohemian Boy. A young prince from the royal family of Bohemia with an excessively long name. He witnessed the explosion at the Great Exhibition. Balthazar Loon, impresario of short pleasure voyages and flying balloons. Balloons above the experimentation stage all belong to this man. And her. It was an incident terrible. I'm only grateful that my balloons were
Hold it!
damaged. There are 3 balloons flying above the experimentation stage at the time, I understand.
Sì, all of them my bellissimi bambini. My bellissimi bambini. They are very popular, signor. Some people who pay £10 for one ride.
£10? That's more than my annual stipend. Oh,
£20 a month. That is my pocket money.
girls have all the luck.
I got up there for free. I did play the old I work for Her Majesty's police card, you know?
Detectives have all the luck. If they're so popular, why would you only be operating such a small number of balloons, though?
Because if I have too many in the skies, they could crash into each other. The operators for the balloons were decided by lots, with each operator manning a particular area. See, and that zone above public experimentation stage is the most profitable. The other impresarios, they hate me. Thank you, witness. I think the court has a clear picture of the arrangements for balloon rides at the exhibition. Perhaps we could hear more about what you actually witnessed of the incident. Well, I can fill you in there, my lord. There's this huge bang from the stage, and then the next second another bang in the sky beside us.
Hold it!
So you actually saw the accident happen from up there in the air?
Yep, ain't it amazing what a detective gets to do, eh? I'm telling you, Oda, being a lawyer's a mud scheme. You should join the force and we can go flying together.
You know me so well.
Yes, well, anyway, could you tell us exactly what you saw, do you think? Everything. Everything. We saw everything, because we were up above it all. That dodgy cove climbing into the cage, and that dodgy professor pulling all them levers. And that's when it happened. That's when there was that massive bang and the cage disappeared, just like that. You're describing the moment where the subject's body was decomposed by the electricity, I believe.
So, the thing is, that feels extremely relevant. Because she didn't see him stabbing the person. Which feels like a pretty key aspect of the scenario.
I didn't know what to make of it, but then there was another bang right in me ear. I looked round and there was a huge great fireball right next to us in the sky. And there was nothing there before.
Okay.
Excuse me!
Master Gods, does your memory of the day differ?
My teacher at elementary school said that when you meet someone for the first time,
You should always use their full name. Ah, yes, what was it again? Wilhelm Gottfried Sigismund Ormstein. Just the 4 names, then. Point is, do you have something to say? Something to add in response to Detective Gina Lestrade's last remark? Oh, get it right, Otto. It's Inspector Lestrade. Why does everyone have a problem with how I address them at the moment? Are we sure he's Phoenix's ancestor and not Edgeworth's, because he seems to struggle when coming up against names? That is not what I saw. Ja, there was a second explosion and it was right beside our balloons, that is true. But I'm sure. Which is what I said, ain't it? 1 minute there was nothing. Then, and the next a massive explosion. My teacher at elementary school said that when someone else is speaking, if you are rude enough to interrupt, you will have the most awful life imaginable. Ah, he is German. Are all Bohemians... well, Bohemian. I don't actually know where Bohemia, I'm guessing, was? Is? Was. Okay, past tense. It was a duchy. Bohemia separated from Great Moravia after Duke Spitanov swore fealty to the East Frankish King Arnulf. So, broadly Central Europe. Like, a part of Central Europe. Okay, so apparently it became the Czech Republic. More or less. From a preliminary Wikipedia skim. I don't have time to research all of this stuff while I'm streaming these things. But I'm not great with geography or history, so... I hit so many details that I'm just not that familiar with. Infinite balloons. A real superpower. Just before the second explosion happened next to our balloon, I clearly witnessed a green balloon flying in the sky. A green balloon? You what? I never saw nothing like that. Well, I did, I saw it, and you can say I didn't. I will complain to the council, I will cry and scream. My testimony is the truth, I am Bohemian Prince, you cannot say it's a lie, that is not allowed. Playing the bleeding royalty card, are you? Typical. Says the orphan who likes to remind people she works for Her Majesty's police.
In that case, young man, I must ask you to amend your formal testimony. In the interest of cordial national relations between Great Britain and Bohemia.
It was not the sky that exploded. It was a green balloon that was next to ours at the time.
Hold it!
A green balloon, you say? Are you sure about that? Of course I am sure. I am a proud Bohemian prince. All these questions are making me boring. Wait. Did I miss something? I think you mean bored. No, he was right the first time, too. English is very annoying. The language of my countrymen is far superior. Ragazzo, it is very wrong to lie. Lie. Flying balloons never explode, for the same reason that planets never explode. It is logical. Please tell me that doesn't mean logical. If you insult me, you insult all of Bohemia. Madai. I will have the army come and shoot all of your stupid balloons out of the sky. All of them. I really don't think you have the authority to do that, kid. Here you are, Your Highness. Only all international incidents were so easily resolved. Now that peaceful relations have been restored to the courtroom, perhaps we could return to the testimony. Did you also see the moment that the cage materialized, Mr. Lu? No, I did not see the explosion myself. However, the cage, it fell from the sky like a stone and crashed into the crystal tower.
Hold it!
Did you see that actually happen? No, in reality...
No, in reality I did not. I saw it after it hit the tower. There was a grand confusion around the stage. I ran to see what had happened. I was terrorized by the idea that one of my balloons had crashed.
Suppose they are his livelihood.
But when I looked up to the sky, all my precious balloons were still there.
I saw it slam into the tower. After all, I'm a detective now. And tell us what you saw, Inspector Lestrade. So, he's claiming that a balloon exploded. The other guy is claiming that all of the balloons were fine. That is a definite contradiction. I'm going to finish pressing, and then I'm going to go back to his, because I think I missed an opportunity to press the guy next to him while he was explaining. I say his. Oops. Hang on. He's asserting that a balloon exploded. He's I don't know why I'm inventing the word exerting, and I apologize. Anyway, he's asserting that none of the balloons exploded. That's a contradiction, and I think I missed a chance to press on Loon during Gott's statement.
Hold it!
Was it you who gave the order to keep people away? Use your head, Otto. How could it have been me? I was up in a balloon, weren't I? Right? I just kind of assumed that you could shout that loud. And somehow I doubt I'm wrong. So, because I weren't available, it was the boss who had to leg it over there. He was getting shoved and kicked all over by the panicking spectators as he tried to seal off the scene. It was a real sight to behold, I can tell you. Amazing. Poor Inspector Gregson. So anyway, I couldn't see the cage that well because of all the smoke. And I didn't really want to see, to be honest. I was scared out of me wits. Keep it together, Inspector. Prosecution really is asserting that the demonstration was genuine. But what if it was actually some kind of switch-around trick instead? That would mean that the victim was never actually on the stage in the first place. 2 explosions would have thrown everyone watching into a panic for sure. I think I need to find out more about what exactly people saw at the time. Let's drop a save real quick.
Hold it!
Okay, we're going to try and present a piece of green cloth here. It feels relevant.
Objection!
No.
Hold it!
So I actually saw the incident happen from up in the air. There was a huge, great fireball right next to us in the sky, and there was nothing there before. And what appears out of the flames? A cage, that's what. That description sounds like the moment after the man was beamed instantaneously through space. It's mind-blowing, innit? And that was it. But that's the 20th century for you, I reckon. So people who actually saw the demonstration with their own eyes really believe they saw something miraculous taking place. Already pressed on that a second time. So,
Hold it!
I think maybe we just need to press on this one again, considering it's already come up. Wait, I just realized. Hang on.
Objection!
Ah, that's what it was. Mr. Loon, in your testimony, you said that all 3 of the balloons you had operating at the time were undamaged.
See, that is correct. That is correct. If they had been caught in the explosions, it would have been terrible.
I wonder if you might know what this is.
Ah, I think it's maybe, see, part of a balloon, a burnt piece of the fabric of the envelope.
Sorry, the envelope?
Pardon. That is the large round part of the balloon which becomes filled with hot air. It is made from very thick fabric lined with rubber. You do not want it to rip when you are in the sky.
Just as I thought. This piece of cloth was found near the experimentation stage. In other words, as Master Gotts testified, the green balloon did indeed explode that day. Sorry, I gotta change my shirt real quick. This one is really hot. That other one's basically a light sweater. Great for wandering around outside in the winter, but like on, a fairly moderate day. Not so great for sitting in front of a computer when I'm streaming. Eh? If all the balloons in the sky above the experimentation stage belonged to you, Mr. Loon, then your statement that they were all undamaged clearly contradicts this evidence.
No. The balloon exploded that day. Why didn't the man say so?
Maybe everyone on board was killed. Oh no, having just spent 10 whole pounds for the experience? How awful. Seems to me like those things crash 50% of the time anyway.
The instantaneous kinesis did occur, but after the explosion on the stage, the point of materialization shifted to a location occupied by a balloon. Causing the balloon to explode, yes, eminently plausible.
And yet, somehow, no balloon was reported to have exploded? No one else is dead?
An unfortunate traffic accident, as it were, but it changes nothing about the pertinent facts. This I cannot accept.
Why not, Mr. Loon?
You are suggesting that I am a liar. That persons died in a balloon incident. There's no need to get fired up, Mr. The victim was the sole fatality that day. That's right, and I prove it. Balthazar Loon is not a liar. There was no such balloon in the sky. It is not possible. Impossible.
You're saying it's impossible? Why?
This court has more important matters to discuss than the number of balloons that were operating that day.
I don't know, we've clearly got some weirdness going on in the testimony right now, and in the evidence.
Objection!
But we can't ignore the fact that nobody appears to have known anything about this other balloon until now. My lord, the defense calls for further testimony from Mr. Loon.
I concur. There is clearly more to the truth here than meets the eye. It is imperative that we clear up the issue of this phantom balloon, I feel. Witness, you will give your supplementary testimony about the balloons you were operating at the exhibition. Ah, grazie, my lord.
I'm gonna go refill my juice. I probably should have done that a minute ago when I changed my shirt, but oh well. Mr. Loon's Balloons.
As I said, Balthazar Loon is no liar.
I love how his name is B. Loon. It's a nice pun, though, honestly. Like, it's one of the more... Like, the loon does kind of give it away, but they were clever in how they put it out there.
Every balloon I had in the sky landed safely. All 3 of my balloons were carrying passengers. If they fell to the ground in an explosion, what a catastrophe. But you can't get away from the fact that a burnt-out bit of cloth was found at the scene, can you? The coppers at the yard reckon it was probably some debris thrown from the explosion on the stage. This stupido ragazzo is mistaken. My balloons have red and blue zigzag stripes anyway. So your assertion is that the balloon this child saw was not one belonging to you? Si, exactamente, if he even saw a balloon in the first place. I do not like the sound of it. It is very bad for business. I have a good mind to sue the land of Bohemia. If you attack us, we will fight back. It will be war at war.
What happened to All Out War? It's okay, Ryu. We don't want to have a war originate from this courtroom. Mr. Loon certainly doesn't appear to be lying, but that doesn't change the fact that the testimony and evidence are contradictory here.
If the defense is unable to find fault with the witness's statements, the court must consider them the truth. Think long and hard on that, my learned friend.
The situation has clearly changed now. I have to get to the bottom of what happened here, no matter what it takes.
Counsel, you may now cross-examine the witnesses.
Oh, what the crap? Why am I hemorrhaging frames? Hang on, what the heck? I am really confused. Because OBS is saying that I'm dropping like a lot of frames right now. Folks, I don't know if this is making it through even. I'm not really sure. It's hard to say. I am going to restart the stream just to see if that deals with the issue, because I am concerned that it's saying I've dropped 10% of my frames so far. And the number keeps climbing.